Hey, how you doing? Toris here. Now, for the last week, I've been using the new iPad Pro, which I can tell you this was a totally new experience for me because this is the very first Apple product that I own. Now, I don't want to turn into a fanboy, but using Apple products and Apple's ecosystem is somewhat satisfying. Of course, there are limitations, which I will talk about later, because this is still not a laptop replacement. But I think it's just a matter of time until we get there. Maybe iOS 13. Who knows? So this particular iPad is the 12.9-inch 64GB silver version. It comes with the new Liquid Retina display that you can find in the iPhone XR as well, but people are saying that on the iPad it looks much better. Which I'm not really sure of because I don't own an iPhone XR, but please let me know in the comment section if you already compared them. Now, Apple calls it edge-to-edge display. Well, is it really? You tell me. At the same time, I think these small bezels are necessary because you need to hold on to something and not just touch the display causing accidental input. This year iPads are really thin, 5.9mm to be exact, which makes the iPad look really futuristic and professional, but at the same time really vulnerable. So better to use a case. There are already a few videos on YouTube how easy it is to bend this device. Of course, normally people don't do that, and I suppose you don't want to do that either. So if you don't sit on it or you don't lean on it when it's in your bag, you are probably safe. Oh, and don't drop it either. Apple has also shrunken the size of the 12.9-inch, which comes in handy. Holding the previous version of iPad in my hand felt massive, but this one is more compact and it keeps the same screen size, which makes it a killer device. Size difference made an impact for me, and it also takes less space on my desk. On the downside though, because of the new aspect ratio, many of the applications have these black bars, which is a bit annoying, but I think it won't take long until the app developers make an update for them. On the 12.9-inch, this isn't as nearly noticeable, but on the 11-inch version, it needs to give up a lot more screen real estate. Let's talk about hardware, and this is where I got a bit annoyed. I mean, why? Why is it that Apple makes a Pro device with one of the best hardware and one of the most beautiful display, and it still lacks Pro features? I mean, just look at these benchmarks. Impressive numbers and performance, but I still cannot use programs like Final Cut Pro, Premiere Pro. Adobe is making a full version of Photoshop next year for the iPads, which I'm really interested about, but we need to wait for that. Apple claims that this iPad is faster than 90% of this year's laptops. Yeah, it could be, but it's still an iPad. The new iPad comes with the latest A12X Bionic processor, which packs 8-core-ish CPU and 7-core GPU. This version of iPad packs 64GB of storage, which I mentioned before, but if you want some more storage, you can go up to 1TB. Also, the 1TB version comes with 6GB of RAM instead of 4GB like the rest of the iPads. There are two color versions, the silver one and the space gray. Personally, I prefer the silver one, but if you are buying a new one, it's up to you. The display is a 120Hz IPS LCD with a resolution of 2048 by 2732, if I'm correct, which packs 265 pixels per inch. Oh, and also by the 4:3 aspect ratio. The main camera is a single 12 megapixel, which is similar as the iPhone XR or XS. It's capable of shooting 4K at 60 FPS. Now that's crazy. I mean, yeah, it's a small lens and a small sensor, but let's face it, many of the DSLRs or mirrorless cameras are not capable of doing that. Oh yeah, and I also wanted to mention that there's a small camera bump, which makes the iPad rock a little bit on a flat surface. It's even more noticeable on an 11-inch version. This is a bit annoying knowing that this is a Pro device by Apple. Also on the front there is a 7-megapixel camera, which features the Face ID that I'm gonna talk about in a minute. But before that, let's talk about this. Finally, Apple made their mind up and decided to go a USB Type-C adapter this time. This was a delightful news for me, because I don't have to buy all the lightning adapters for this iPad. I can just simply use one of my USB-C adapters, which I already own, and I can connect everything that I want. Well, almost everything. By the way, I will make a follow-up video where I will explain how and what can you connect to this iPad, so stay tuned. Battery life was a surprise as well. I really thought with a big screen like this it won't last long. Nope, I was wrong. I actually managed to use it all day, every day, with charging overnight. The speakers on either side are just fantastic, loud and clear. And it's really hard to cover them all because there are 4 of them, and they are far enough from each other for the stereo effect. Apple really makes them better every year. Oh yeah, and a headphone jack, which is gone. Yes, we are talking about an Apple product. The latest version of iOS is the iOS 12.1, which is fast. Apps are snappy, probably the fastest mobile device on earth, but still it has its limitations, as I mentioned earlier. It comes with the gesture-based UI. Home button is gone. Multitasking on this device is phenomenal. The A12X Bionic chip just flies through the apps. Productivity is all fast and fluid. The last version of iPad Pro had an A+ performance, but this one has even more and it's future-proof for sure. Touch ID has been replaced by Face ID, and thank God they figured it out. It can be used in any orientation. Sometimes it's just hard to know which way is the top because of these small bezels. Even with any orientation, sometimes I find myself covering the sensors since the bezel is so thin. But then it just points a little arrow and tells me that I'm covering the sensors. I unblock it and I'm in. The screen is one of the best display I have ever used. It's color accurate, responsive and smooth. You can also enable the True Tone feature when you need it, and the display can be very bright if you need it. Editing photos on this display is easily one of the best experience. And last but not least, the new Apple Pencil. It's a must-have. It's like a mouse for your PC or Mac. At the same time, it makes the old one silly. I mean, nothing can weirder than charging the old pencil. The new one snaps on the side of the iPad with magnets and pairs and wirelessly charges there. Everyone was wondering on the leaked photos about the new cutout on the side. Well, that's where the new Apple Pencil sits. Pressure sensitivity is the same as the previous version. The pencil itself is a little bit shorter than the previous version, but this time it also got a matte surface, which I think is better than the glossy one. They don't include any replaceable tips anymore in the box, so I have to figure it out how to get one if I have to. I wonder what you guys think about the new iPad. Would you buy one to replace your computer? Personally, I will still keep my laptop because there are still programs that I need to use on a daily basis, and the iPad with its limitations is just not ready yet. Simple things like a file manager app is missing. Sure, there is a Files app on it, but man, it's just barely usable. So who is it for, you might ask? Well, definitely not for everyone, but I think there are 2 kinds of people who would buy an iPad Pro. Artists and tech enthusiasts. It's an incredible device for people who likes digital sketching or making their music on it or video editing. It is also an incredible device for everyday use like web browsing, sending an email or watching movies on it. I recommend the 12.9-inch model for artists because you always need more screen, trust me, especially for sketching. And the 11-inch model with maybe a keyboard folio case for everyday tasks. Personally, I don't think a folio keyboard case is necessary for the 12.9-inch model. It's not cheap, and at the same time, I wouldn't use it much. I managed to write the whole script for this video on the iPad screen with no problem anyway. Alright, let me know what you think about this video in the comment section down below. Also, stay tuned for future videos including iPad accessories and useful apps. Leave a like if you enjoyed this video and subscribe if you are a fan. Thank you ever so much for joining me, and I will see you in the next one. Oh yeah, and Apple, I have a message for ya. Unleash the power. Okay, bye.
that.